because will stop you dying at the hands of your lover. I mean, so far, I think we could stop there and we'd all be pretty happy that we'd learned something. But well, let's plow straight on. So again, if you can just start a little golf clap, and then yeah, tennis bat. Some people call it the straight cowboy. Some call it the dance of love. I call it Gabriel.
I love you guys, and I love Lindsay, and I really mean that. I mean that because I was really anxious about what I was going to say to you, because I thought I'm going to have to talk a little bit about philosophy, and not so much about love, which is what you've all come here to hear about. But now that I realize how fucking cynical you all are, Lindsay is, I feel like it's actually probably a good thing for me to talk a little bit about something else first. And but I want to do this. I want to get back to love. I'm going to use philosophy as a way of getting back to love, which unfortunately is not always the way love is used by philosophy. There's a tradition of using love as a way of getting to philosophy, but I want to kind of shake that up, and I want to make sure that we stay with love. I want to make sure that we stay with love in all its facets. Hold on to that. It's going to be tough with you, group, but I think I can do it. Alright. So, we're here to do something kind of radical, do this philosophy in pubs thing. It's a radical project. We want to think about what philosophy is, what it talks about, who it's for, who can do it, and where it can happen, in a pub, in unusual places like this. And I think this is something philosophy has a tendency to do, is ask itself these kind of questions. What are you? What am I? Philosophy, what am I? And I think the reason that philosophy is always concerned with its identity and what it is because it's not neat the way that any other discipline is. In fact, philosophy isn't exactly a discipline. It's not. It's not like one of these ologies in science, like andrology, which is the science of erectile dysfunction, or malacology, which is the science of mollusks. It's not one of these things where the object of inquiry, the thing you're studying, is really quite neat and precise, and we know what that is, and we know that if we stray too far from talking about mollusks, if we stray, say, into talking about Virginia Woolf, we're probably not quite doing anymore. We're probably doing something else. Philosophy doesn't have that luxury. Philosophy takes as its object wisdom. This is the Sophia part of the word. Sophie, wisdom. It comes from the Greek wisdom. You probably all know that already. And it takes the whole of wisdom, not just one part of it. But it has even more problems than that, than just that great broadness of it. It's not sophology, if I can coin that term. It's not the study of wisdom. It's an attitude towards wisdom. And does anybody know what that attitude is? Come on. It has something to do with the theme of the... Yes, thank you. The philosophy, the philein, in the Greek word philosophia, means love of wisdom. So it's this attitude of love of wisdom that motivates philosophy. Now, when we love something, we don't necessarily have it, and I think this may not always be the case, but I think it's definitely the case in philosophy, that we love it not because we have it, but that love is a desiring love and a wanting love of something that we don't have. And perhaps it needs to be this way. Perhaps it needs to be this way because otherwise philosophers wouldn't have anything to do really, but cuddle up next to wisdom on the couch and grow old together watching soap operas. I don't think any of us would be very satisfied with that. And I don't think, I mean, ask any two philosophers, there's several here you can probably find, ask any two to agree on what wisdom is, and I can guarantee you that you won't have that happen. There's also a sort of a history of philosophy argument. This one of the first thinkers to think seriously about what philosophy is, this problem that I'm posing, is Plato and his master Socrates, who when asked to explain when he was trying to explain what the Delphic oracle meant when he said that he was the wisest man alive, eventually came to the conclusion that this because he knows nothing, or because he doesn't claim to have any wisdom that he doesn't have. So the wisdom that philosophy is a love of, the wisdom that's the object here, is somehow not there. We don't know what it is yet. We don't have that. So this is the problem, I think. The real problem for philosophy is how can that object of wisdom constitute philosophy? And I don't think it is. And I want to say that this is what the only thing that we have as philosophers is our love. That's the only thing that we have, because we don't yet have that wisdom. And I think, well, we don't have it now anyway. So we have this love of wisdom, and this is why I love philosophy, is because it's not a possession of wisdom. It doesn't say that we have to have it in this way. There's this great humility to philosophers, even though we rarely. We're humble. You're just gonna. We call it Socratic irony in this, which is like the least humble phrase in the universe. But this has always been my experience, that philosophy has been this sort of inoculation against intellectual arrogance. Sometimes you need a booster shot, but this reminder that we don't have wisdom. But there's another tendency in philosophy, and this argument for uncertainty is really almost being too certain of itself in claiming that, because there is a tendency in philosophy, and again it goes all the way back to Plato at least, to make a strong argument, to have some certainty, to nail down certainty, and to say this is what love is, or even this is what love should be. That there is a nobility of love that philosophy has that you all looking to hook up in this pub don't have. And I think that's bullshit. I think that's bullshit. There's in Plato's most famous dialogue on love, which is the Symposium, which is really relevant to what we're doing here, because the Symposium is a dialogue that breaks out at a drinking party, and that's literally what the Greek symposium means, drinking party. So pubs, not necessarily such a new idea, sorry Charlie. There's love there. Love is the discussion that breaks out, but it's kind of a red herring in a way, because love is the kind of romantic love and erotic love and even lust that gets us excited to talking about it, that I kind of thought that you all maybe wanted to hear about it until I learned what cynics you are. The kind of things that excite us is thrown out by the final not quite the final argument. It's an interesting book, you should all read it. But there's an argument that the truest love, that there's a more noble love in love of wisdom than any of that. And I think that's problematic, because, as I said before, we don't have wisdom yet. philosophy is not a having of wisdom, as I won't stress too much. So, how can we say that that's the love that we should have when we don't yet know what it is? How can we say that wisdom is the right object of love when we don't yet know what wisdom is? How can we prematurely reject romantic love, reject erotic love? How can we reject this love of the body and love of individuals as inferior to love of wisdom? Well, I don't think we can. I think that that we need to maintain love above all, because that's what we have as people and as philosophers, and that we can't decide what to fall in love with. We can't decide who to fall in love with. We can only let ourselves be in love. We can only fall in love. That's it. Thanks.
Oh yeah,